The unit was already listed as abandoned when we cut the lock. That's why no one expected anyone to be inside. I worked part-time assisting with storage unit cleanouts for a facility on the outskirts of town. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was predictable. Units were flagged for non-payment, notices were sent, and after a set period, the contents were cleared. Everything followed a process. That process was the reason none of us hesitated when the manager handed me the bolt cutters and nodded toward Unit 16. The facility was indoors, long concrete corridors lined with metal roll-up doors. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in a dull, even glow. Sounds carried strangely there. Footsteps echoed longer than they should have. Unit 16 had been delinquent for over 3 months. According to the records, the renter had stopped responding entirely. No calls, no emails, no returned mail. The unit was marked empty pending inspection. The manager, a man named Carl, stood a few feet back as I crouched down. "Go ahead," he said. "Let's see what's left." I cut the lock. The metal snapped cleanly and fell to the floor. I grabbed the handle and rolled the door upward. Someone was already inside. For a split second, my brain tried to explain it in normal ways. Maybe Carl had sent someone ahead of us. Maybe a contractor was finishing up. Maybe the unit number had been written down wrong, and we were opening the wrong door. But the corridor signage matched. The unit label matched. And Carl's clipboard had the same number printed in thick black ink. This wasn't a mistake you made when you were tired. It was the kind you only made if the whole system was wrong. He was sitting on the concrete floor, legs pulled in close to his chest, back against the far wall. Not hiding. Not startled. Just there. I froze with the door halfway up. The man looked up at me slowly, like he'd been waiting for the light. He was older, late 60s, maybe 70s. Thin. Wearing a jacket that looked too light for the season. His hair was gray, combed flat, and his face was calm in a way that immediately unsettled me. "Oh," he said. "You're early." Carl stepped forward behind me. "What the hell?" he muttered. The man shifted his weight slightly but didn't stand. "I was told I could stay until they came," he said. "I've been keeping things neat." I glanced around the unit. It wasn't cluttered. A few cardboard boxes stacked neatly to one side. A folding chair. A blanket folded carefully on top of a plastic bin. No signs of someone breaking in. No damage. No mess. Carl cleared his throat. "Sir," he said, trying to sound authoritative. "This unit was listed as abandoned." The man nodded. "Yes," he said. "That's what they told me." I felt a strange disconnect forming, like everyone was speaking English, but meaning different things. "Who told you that?" Carl asked. The man thought for a moment. "The office," he said. "Someone here." Carl and I exchanged a look. "That's not possible," Carl said carefully. "No one authorized anyone to stay inside a unit." The man smiled faintly. "They said it was fine," he replied. "Just temporary." Carl stepped away and pulled out his phone. "I'm calling this in," he said quietly to me. "Stay right there." The man didn't react. He didn't try to leave. He didn't argue. He just sat there, hands resting on his knees, like he knew exactly how this was supposed to go. I stood frozen in the doorway, unsure whether to step in or back away. "You've been here overnight?" I asked, mostly to fill the silence. He shook his head. "Longer than that," he said. "I don't sleep much." Something about the way he said it made my skin prickle. Carl came back a minute later, frowning. "The system shows this unit was cleared weeks ago," he said. "No access code, no notes, nothing." The man tilted his head slightly. "That's odd," he said. "They were very clear with me." Carl looked at me again. "Sir," he said, firmer now, We're going to have to ask you to leave." The man sighed, not annoyed, just resigned. "I was expecting that," he said. "I'll gather my things." He stood slowly, joints stiff, and reached for the folded blanket. As he did, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There was no dust on the floor where he'd been sitting, but the rest of the unit had a thin layer of it, like no one had disturbed the space in a long time. He picked up the blanket, folded it once more, and placed it back on the bin. "I don't need to take much," he said. "Most of it isn't mine anyway." Carl stepped back instinctively as the man passed him. Up close, he smelled faintly of cardboard and something else I couldn't place, like cold concrete after rain. He walked down the corridor without looking back. We stood there for several seconds after he left. Neither of us spoke. Finally, Carl exhaled. "That's not right," he said. We went back to the office. Carl pulled up the full account history for Unit 16. There was nothing unusual until 3 weeks earlier, when a short internal note appeared. "Temporary hold. Do not reassign. No explanation. No initials. No follow-up." Carl stared at the screen. "I didn't put that there," he said. "I didn't," I replied. "No one else should have had access." Carl checked the security footage for the unit. The hallway camera showed nothing. No one entering. No one leaving. The timestamp jumped from one night to the next with no recorded motion. But the unit door, the door I'd just opened, had been rolled up and closed during that time. At least once. Carl frowned. "That's impossible," he muttered. "Those doors don't move unless someone lifts them." We went back to Unit 16 together. The door was fully closed now. Locked. With a new lock. Neither of us remembered putting it there. Carl unlocked it. The unit was empty. Carl opened and shut the door twice, like that would change what we were seeing. He checked the latch. He ran his fingers along the inside track of the roll-up door, looking for grit or scrape marks that would suggest someone had dragged boxes out quickly. There was nothing. Even the air felt different. Stale and cool, like the space hadn't held people or furniture in weeks. That bothered me more than the missing items, because a unit that's been lived in, even temporarily, doesn't empty itself without leaving a trace. Not even a footprint. Not even a crease in dust. Completely. No boxes, no chair, no blanket, no dust disturbance. Just bare concrete walls and floor. Carl stepped inside slowly. "No," he said. "No, no, no." He checked the hallway. No sign of the man. No exit alarm triggered. No record of anyone leaving. We closed the unit and returned to the office in silence. Carl canceled the cleanout and marked the unit as restricted. Later that day, he called the corporate office. They told him something that made his face go pale. The previous renter of Unit 16 had died the month before. Heart attack, found alone. His belongings had already been cleared by a third-party company. The unit had been empty since. I asked Carl if he described the man to them. He nodded slowly. They asked if he was wearing a light jacket, he said, and if he spoke politely. The facility manager from corporate told Carl that another employee had reported something similar years earlier. They didn't describe it as a haunting. They described it like a recurring incident they didn't want spreading between staff. The person on the phone asked Carl specific questions in a flat, rehearsed way. What time did we open the unit? Which employee cut the lock? Did the man ever step fully into the hallway? Did he touch anything outside the unit? Carl answered everything, and the longer the call went on, the more it sounded like corporate already knew what they were going to do next. Contain it, document it, and make sure nobody else accidentally opened the wrong door at the wrong time. Different unit, same description, same explanation. Someone waiting. Someone told it was okay to stay. Carl quit not long after that. I didn't. But I stopped taking clean-out shifts. A few weeks later, I checked the facility records out of curiosity. Unit 16 was still listed, still marked as unavailable. No renter. No explanation. Just a note. Do not open without authorization. I don't know who told that man he could stay there. I don't know why the system recorded it. But I do know this. When I rolled that door up, he wasn't surprised to see me. He was surprised I was early.